Well, after that, we are on the phone with First Coast News crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson. Ken, can you hear us right now?
Good morning, Jasmine.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, a lot of people have questions about what transpired at the JSO's response. Our first question to you is there a nationwide BOLO? Walk us through what goes into a manhunt when an officer is killed.
Well, first, let me just say my prayers go out to the family of this correctional officer. It's a tragic situation, and unfortunately, it's a part of what we do as law enforcement officers. Fortunately, so when something happens of this caliber, you not only put out information locally and on the state level, you put out a national BOLO. BOLO stands for Be on the Lookout For. So every law enforcement agency in the country have this information because this person can flee just about anywhere. The good thing is they have a vehicle description, color, and a tag number. And then you have an image of the shooter himself. So every law enforcement officer that's working or even not working is on the lookout for this individual. And their main objective is to apprehend him and bring him in to be held responsible for what he did.
First Coast News crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson joining us this morning. Ken, we appreciate your time. Sheriff T.K. Waters said that Bradley McNew stepped in to help a domestic violence situation when he was tragically shot and killed. I'm curious, what's the protocol for an officer trying to help in a situation when they're off duty?
Well, you know, when you're a law enforcement officer, you're technically never off duty. Unfortunately, he walked into a situation where he tried to assist because he did it instinctively. As a professional law enforcement officer, though he was not a sworn police officer, he wanted to help. He wanted to help a situation where he felt that someone was in distress. It's just instinctively done. You don't think about it because you're really technically never off duty, because if something happens and you see someone in stress, you are instinctively going to want to help and try to resolve that situation peacefully. Unfortunately, it turned bad quickly, and there was really nothing he could do at that particular point because he was already involved in trying to help this victim.
Well, also, Ken Jefferson joining us. In this situation, the victim who the officer was trying to help was the driver who fled the scene. In this domestic dispute like this, is the victim considered an accomplice? How does that all break down?
That's a great question. Now, you have to understand that the perpetrator had a weapon. She may have been under duress. She may have been in fear that if she didn't cooperate or get in the car to drive away, she could have been shot as well. So once they're caught, they're going to have to investigate that situation deeply because she obviously was the victim. She was drug out of the car by this suspect. Was she forced back in the car, or was she trying to protect him? Those are the questions that's going to have to be answered. But we have to remember the suspect had a gun. He was armed. He had already shot someone, and she's in a position where she can try to run and risk being shot, or she can cooperate with the suspect, or she's just aiding and abetting him. Those questions have to be answered.
Ken, we have one more question for you. When it comes to these domestic violence incidents, they do become deadly in some cases. Oftentimes, officers talking about how stressful those situations are when you go to these calls. Walk me through what officers typically think when they're going to those domestic violence incidents.
Anytime an officer responds to a domestic violence incident, they're trained not to go at it alone, simply because this is one of the most dangerous calls that you can go on outside of a traffic stop. It can change in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. It can change from nonviolent to violent. The victim sometimes will turn on the officers when they're there to help the victim. You never know what's going to happen in these type of cases because of of the nature of it. It's an intimate type of crime, more or less, and feelings and emotions are involved with people that you're dealing with, and you never know what's going to happen at any given time. So officers understand this danger. That's why they are trained not to go into these type of situations alone. They always have a backup officer with them. But domestic violence is real. It's prevalent in our society, and it's very, very dangerous for everybody involved.
First Coast News crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson joining us this morning after JSO officer Bradley McNew shot and killed while trying to break up a domestic violence situation at a gas station on the north side of Jacksonville. Ken, thank you very much for your time this morning. Certainly our thoughts and prayers with the McNew family.